Where do we start?
Yeah.
Where do we start, Macca?
How long have we got? Actually didn't enjoy the game. I mean, I enjoyed the result, of course. I didn't think the game was a good performance from England. Lacked quality. I thought they were quite negative in the second half, went backwards a lot. So really put an England fan, it put us through the mill, really, to a certain extent. I thought, first and foremost, the five, was it Barrios, should have got sent off for Button, Jordan Henderson, regardless of anything early on in the game. Their play acting and diving on the floor and rolling around, I thought, spoiled the game.
It's not just theirs, though.
No,
Harry Maguire was doing the same.
No, I know, but they were particularly bad.
I know, but if we're going to talk about diving, then there was going on the other side as well. It was going
but they
on.
were particularly bad. They were worse.
Okay. All right. Well then.
Harry Maguire dived. He did dive and got up and said, no, it wasn't a penalty. Tried to, you know. But of course, I'm not excusing him at all, not at all. But I just thought they were awful, and I'm probably the wrong person to ask. They got the results in the end, but I didn't particularly enjoy the game.
Yeah, I thought the Colombian antics after the penalty was given was a disgrace, and I thought Geiger was weak because it took for age for Kane to be able to take the penalty, which was a penalty, by the way, because he was holding him to start with, and then the ref never spotted it because he was looking at the other sort of melee, and as he turned round, it was almost like a jockey getting on a horse, wasn't it? He jumped on his back, and so he gave the penalty away. England were the least poor of two poor teams tonight. I think that's the way to sum it up. Colombia offered almost nothing for 75, 80 minutes. And England could have killed this team. But they just... In that final third, it kept breaking down. Dele Alli couldn't get in the game. Sterling made some good moves, some good runs, but it was sort of bouncing off him at the last minute. Lingard should have won a penalty in the second half, but he wasn't clever enough. Should have gone across the defender. They both went to ground. The referee called it correctly. And in the end, I thought once it went all the way to penalties, I thought it was going to be the same old story. I really did.
In fairness to England, I thought Colombia were playing for a draw from the opening whistle. When you play three up front, you've got Quintero and Cuadrado sat behind Falcao, and 8 just behind the ball, unable to catch up with any attacking play when you do manage to get forward. It never looked like Colombia believed that they could win this game in 90 minutes and were just trying to get to 120 and hope to beat England from the spot. As a result, I think that stifled England in their own creativity and made it a difficult game to watch. But Colombia, for me, offered absolutely nothing.
I think what Colombia offered was the idea that this is the way that they were going to win the game. I don't think Colombia stood on the field and thought and looked across and said, we have a good enough team to beat England, unless we start doing things that disrupt England, that frustrate England, that frustrate the referee, that give us some calls, give us some set pieces, and maybe Jerry Mina gets on the end or something, and then we win this match. I also think the fact that you don't have James Rodriguez on the field makes a huge difference for Colombia. James Rodriguez, not only the performance that he can give you, he frees up other players to do different things on the field. When he's on the field, then Quintero can play either underneath him or just in front of him. Cuadrado can go and play out in a wider area rather than underneath. When Cuadrado's playing underneath, he's taking his own space away, and there's no option for Colombia to go on the attack. James Rodriguez makes a big difference. Take Harry Kane out of England. Sure. Take Neymar out of Brazil. Take Ronaldo out of Portugal. I mean, this is the sort of impact that you have when your best player and the guy that you look to, your key piece, is not there. Now you start searching and say, where are we going to get the creativity from? Where's going to be the guy that's going to put the ball down and play for us? That wasn't there for Colombia, so they searched for another way to win the game. I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. But in the end, that's how they thought they would give themselves a chance. And they gave themselves a chance. Made it all the way to penalties.
I thought England allowed them back into the game. Yeah. When they won, they're quite comfortable, England. But every pass seemed to go backwards and backwards, and they just lost that momentum of going forwards all the time. So as soon as you start going backwards to the centre defenders, to the goalkeeper, they will start jumping 10 yards further forward, and that's what, I mean, the goal was, I think, their first corner of the whole match, and you can see they're a big side, I get that. But don't allow them into the game. England will have to improve 100-fold if they're going to threaten Sweden, because they put a really good disciplined performance in today, and they'll be a lot better than Colombia. So we need more from England. I wanted a good performance, you know, not necessarily a dominant performance, because I knew I knew that these teams were quite close, but I wanted a better performance.
I think what was evident to me, and we saw from time to time, with the likes of Kane and Sterling in particular, coming in, making those little runs into channels, and we're sitting there shouting, play it now. England just don't have any kind of passer in that midfield. So you pick the ball up and you're asking somebody to thread the eye of a needle. Nobody can. Henderson can't do that. The players that Gareth Southgate can call on, or even look to on the bench, simply can't thread those little balls through because they were on and they were available, but they just don't have that quality. As a result, you're trying to batter down a door that Colombia just bolted shut when called a basket.
I don't think, with Sterling playing around Kane, I don't think it's allowing Dele Alli the room to make those runs.
He didn't do anything, did he?
I think he's one of the players that could be up for the chop. I mean, if he's fit for selection, I think he could be up for being left on the bench. But I just think the way they set up, he's not quite working with Kane in the same manner he does with Tottenham. It's difficult sometimes at international level because some teams sit so deep and there isn't a lot of space there. But to go back to the point Maka was making about passing back, England almost got caught out with Walker. They passed it back. Then he took too long on the ball and they almost got caught out. The other side is, I think he might look at his substitutions. He brought Vardy on, they had two up front. Vardy never got a kick. You might look to break, you might be thinking for future reference, a go away Loftus-Cheek coming on.
Yeah.
Keep Kane up front, try and take control in the midfield towards the end of the game. Plus the fact Loftus-Cheek against a big side like Colombia gives you an extra body from set pieces. And I think that is something that England and Southgate might look at, particularly against Sweden, who, like Colombia, are very good and do target long throws and set pieces.
To your point about Jamie Vardy, he comes on the field and then naturally you see Harry Kane dropping in a position where he's more of a playmaker. I don't think he's as effective there as he would be as an out-and-out striker. So you're losing Harry Kane's presence up top and you're really not gaining much underneath either. And so it feels like a wasted opportunity to find other options. Harry Kane should be your guy up top. That's it. You don't move him from there because anytime that he's there, there's a real opportunity for him to score a goal.
I think Southgate will say, honestly, I'm sort of trying to think what he'll say. I think he'll say we're through. I think he'll say we're through, but we can. I wasn't happy, or we can do a hell of a lot more. If we play like that, I mean, everybody.
Can they play better?
Oh yes, yes. They can. They can't play like a manner in which the French will play, or in a manner in which Brazil will play, but they can play a damn sight better than that. Now, Sweden might not have as many dirty tricks as Colombia, but it will be just as defensive. And
they'll be better than Sweden. Are going to be better than Colombia.
Better organised.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all agree Colombia are not a great team, and they certainly were today, missing the star man, as Ali said. How many chances did England make today? Certainly in 90 minutes.
How many saves did Ospina make?
You know, that was the worrying thing. It was a penalty, and England have worked on the set pieces. Of course, they have, and they deserve the penalty. But I was thinking, you know, where's the chances? Where are the people getting round the back?
So why not? What's the issue? Well, are they scared? Is the sideway pass easier?
Well, I thought they need to get more confident, because I thought that certainly in the first half, and then they got the goal. Every pass was the safe pass. It was into midfield, and then it was back to one of the centre defenders. You know, no one had the ability to get it and turn quick and go forward. You know, John Stones was trying to play nice balls too, and I thought he had a decent game. You know, he was trying to play balls to all the time, but if it's just getting bounced back to him or bounced back to Maguire, it's like...
How do you address that?
Well, they you know, Gareth will have to speak to them and say, look, turn. They do it for the club. They do it for Man United. They do it for Tottenham. They'll turn and go forward because that's why they're picked. But you just wonder whether it's because it's the occasion, because they're only young, because they don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to be vilified by, you know, the general public back home if anything negative happens. But they need to get a bit more confidence in, like the Brazilians do, like the French do, and know that we're behind them.
A bit more pace in the team. I think, looking forward, I think there might be a couple of changes.
Right.
Seriously, I think Loftus-Cheek might play for the reasons that I said, for the physicality and the fact he's looked quite comfortable. And I get for Ali.
Yep.
And I think there could be another one where I think Sterling might go into a wider position or drop a little deeper. I think possibly Rashford might come in and they might juggle it around a little to go for his pace, because if Kane is dropping a little deeper, he's very good at spinning in behind. So I think we might see a couple of, at least one, if not two, personnel changes for England for the Sweden game, based on what he saw tonight over the 90 minutes.
I think that's the thing. England can't go through the middle. We saw that. We've spoken about that. Maybe it is going wide. You've got players like Rashford, like Sterling, who are very good one-on-one.
Yeah.
Now, whether beating Sweden is by getting players down the byline and crossing is another point that Gareth Southgate has to figure out. But quite clearly, they can't go through the middle, but they have options. You've got the pace of Rashford. You've got Vardy that you can call on. There are ways that I think that England can get by their deficiencies in midfield and still create more than enough opportunities and give Sweden more than enough to worry
How
about.
many times has an English player, because England on penalties, you know better than me, Mark, England on penalties it's been a shocker, isn't it? How many times has a player missed a penalty, and it was Jordan Henderson's turn tonight, and it's been Chrissy Waddle, and it's been Stuart Pearce, and it's been Gareth Southgate himself, and the goalkeeper, or whatever reason, not been able to bail him out. And tonight, young Pickford...
Yep. He's been criticised in some quarters, hasn't he?
Well, an
Ridiculously,
absolute opportune and needed time, pulled out a great save just to bail England out, but more importantly, bail Jordan Henderson out.
You're our laws expert. You're allowed to do the old wobbly crossbar.
Yeah.
That's allowed?
That's no problem at all. You can stand on the line and do whatever you want.
Do the what?
The old wobbly crossbar job. That's what Jordan was up to, wasn't he? But that's allowed? That's
not a problem at all.
That's okay?
That's not a problem at all.
How would you rank England of the 8 teams that are left? They're down there with Russia?
No, I think higher than Russia, and to be honest, higher than Sweden as well. But when we talk about the options that England has going forward, and we think about England passing sideways and back, I just don't see the personnel of a guy who's actually able to pick that pass, the one going forward, the through ball that puts somebody in a 1v1 situation. So even if you have the runners in front of you, that service has to come from somebody. Jordan Henderson is not that guy. So
Iniesta's out. Can we pick him up?
No. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. So where is that ball going to come from? Because you can do all the movement in front of it, but the production has to come from somewhere in the middle where you can actually find that ball and spread teams apart. Sweden, they're not going to spread themselves. You're going to have to find a way to spread that team apart.
Look, at the end of the England-Belgium game, when you looked at this side of the draw, you thought this was England's biggest stumbling block between getting to the final. No, Colombia were desperately disappointing. I expected a whole lot more from them. But by hook or by crook, England got through.
Yep.
And they achieved the result on the side of the bracket that they wanted. And now Gareth Southgate is happy with the decisions he made. I was critical of him for in playing against Belgium. So you take that. And despite the poor performance, despite all the worries and the concerns, you take the result and you go marching on. Because on paper, as we stand here, England are better than everybody else on their side of the bracket.
Can I just say that from an outsider's perspective, I have nothing to do with England, but I am curious as to how the ceiling for England keeps moving as the competition goes on. And it fluctuates, and it goes to all sorts of different places. And so now you're playing Sweden. So if we had said to you prior to the tournament, well, you get to the quarterfinals, you lose in the quarterfinals, that's about what you would have expected and certainly hoped for.
Yeah.
Now you lose to Sweden, and it's like, oh, well, now we're disappointed because we're better than Sweden. So it's a moving target for these players. What are the expectations for themselves? Those are the important ones. That within that locker room, what do they expect from themselves, regardless of what's happening on the outside?
Pressure is Iceland and all these other games. You take the England 1-11 and you put the Sweden 1-11 in, and it's not even a comparison.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not comparable. But that doesn't mean Iceland wasn't comparable in the Euro. It doesn't mean you can't play. You're only going to get away with playing like that so many times.
What's the feeling in the locker room? Would you suggest? Is it yes, we're through to the
I think it is.
quarterfinals,
I think it'll be yes, we're through to the quarterfinals. But also, if they're going to advance and go forward again, they have to improve it. I think it's like we've said with a number of teams. This was a wake-up call for England, but they've gotten through, thankfully.
Yes.
You know, it's not a Spain where they've gone, we should have won there, and they've gone home. They've gotten through, as Shaka rightly said, but they have to play a whole lot better because Panama and Tunisia, it was a long time ago, and we know what type of teams they were.
Yeah.
They didn't turn up, of course. That 11 didn't turn up against Belgium. They were back in today. Odds were in their favour. They were fresher than Colombia. Colombia were poor. They were missing their maestro, and they stumbled through.
Yeah.
They cannot afford to stumble against Sweden. And if they get away with it against Sweden, someone will knock them out. So regardless of getting to the quarters or the semis, if they keep on playing, someone will beat them.
But if this game wasn't a wake-up call, nothing will be, surely. In the sense that...
No, but it's a good wake-up call.
Yeah.
It's a wake-up call.
There's still
you go back to the hotel, hey, and you're like... you know, great, we're in it. We're in the damn thing, and we're either, don't matter if you're playing Brazil or Sweden or however. The one thing England, if they haven't got great passers in the middle of the park, and they haven't, they've got tidy passers, is they've got to be able to inject a bit of pace into the game. If you look at Brazil in particular, I know we're talking about some of the great players, but you look at the pace that Willian injected against Mexico. If England can do that to Sweden with a Rashford, with a Sterling, and people like that, it will open up for them. But if they just play as pedantic and as slow as they did, it will be a difficult 90 minutes
within themselves, yeah, because Sweden will just be organised. So if you're slow, you will allow them to get behind the ball, to set up, and that'll do them. But if you're quick, you know, pace is everything nowadays. If you're quick and you go forwards and you pass forwards, you know, you'll be able to cut through teams. But if you're slow and just side to side to side, we've seen it any tournament, Spain, Russia, a lot of the games, anybody can get back in a nice shape if you're just dilly-dallying with the ball there and going backwards and going to the goalkeeper.
Craig Burley is joining me, and you'd think that in this World Cup season we wouldn't have to go looking for rumors to talk about, but we do, because this is a big one. That man right there, Cristiano Ronaldo, no longer at the World Cup, so some rumors are flowing that he could be going to Juventus, that Juventus are ready to splash some cash that I didn't really know they had, but apparently they do, Craig, to take Ronaldo away from Real Madrid to Turin. Do you even buy into this one bit?
No. I mean, you're right. It is silly season. You know, Ronaldo. Whether it's Ronaldo's people, whether it's Real Madrid, who some are saying, well, they want to get him out. Even if they did, I don't see Juventus as a fit for him. It's not. I don't think Max Allegri would be. I don't think that he needs that at the moment in time, and I don't think they're looking to be paying that amount of money for a guy who is as old as he is, and he's 30s, as good as he is, but there's no return on that investment. And then you've got the salary and all that on top of it. The stats don't lie, right?
Yeah.
But neither does age, and neither does Mother Nature. And when your body starts to slow down, so basically I don't see this happening. I see this as posturing, where whether it's more money he wants at Real Madrid, or whether it is Real Madrid that want him out, I don't know. I just think these things always pop up at this time.
Could it be because of the ongoing rumors that Neymar might be a target for Real Madrid, and if they offload somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo, they could go right ahead and pry him away from PSG?
Well, I mean, it's possible. There's so many scenarios out there. I know PSG would be. I know to go to PSG would be problematic because of the finances and financial fair play for Ronaldo at the moment. That is one thing. Man United. I mean, you know, for Man United globally, not at that price, but globally and commercially, and on the field, it would be a deal for them. Jose Mourinho obviously has a good relationship with him, but again, not at that price, not at his age. I don't know. I mean, you know, is Neymar going to go to Madrid? I mean, he might do. I don't know. He could roll his way to Madrid, by the way. He could roll his way to Madrid from Moscow. Not a bother.
Literally.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. If you ask me now, will Cristiano Ronaldo be playing the first game of the season for Real Madrid domestically in Spain? The answer is yes. And if you ask me now, will Neymar be rolling about come that time? The answer is yes.
Well,
so I don't think these are. I'd be surprised if this is a transfer that's even close.
All right, well, Craig Burley is not buying any of these. Neymar rolling his way. I've seen all the memes of Neymar rolling in my head all the way to Real Madrid's door.
Given it a good goal.
He has indeed. Well, we'll continue tracking this one here at ESPN FC.
Greetings from Moscow. Hercules Gomez, Sebastian Salazar for ESPNFC.com. Herc, I think a lot of people saw our segment on ESPN FC last night, me yelling back and forth at the guys in studio. Clearly some of my frustrations about the Mexican national team starting to boil over. I've had 24 hours to cool off a little bit. But you know, in the Mexican press right now, there's a big discussion how to properly catalog this tournament. Failure, disaster, success, somewhere in between. Where do you put it?
Okay. The Mexican national team had it very clear, very simple. El quinto partido or bust. They didn't get there, so bust. But let's be very clear about this. They defeated the defending World Cup champions in Germany in the first game in very convincing fashion. The second game, they dominated South Korea. 6 points out of 2 games, and in disaster truck versus Sweden. And then you have to go in playing the fifth, potentially for the 5th game against Brazil. This Brazil, Coutinho, Neymar, Willian, Paulinho, it was always going to be difficult. There is no shame in losing. There is dignity in losing, especially the way they did. Great effort, but I think it's somewhere in between. If you talk to people back in Mexico, it is a complete and utter failure. I don't see it as that, but I think if the end goal is the 5th and final game, then yes, bust.
Some news today, Oribe Peralta announcing his retirement from the national team. He's one of a few players, and I don't think necessarily he fits into the golden generation quite. He's a little bit older than that. But when you start to look at the guys who are the base of this team, it is very unlikely that they will be here with the Mexican national team for Qatar and the World Cup in 4 years' time. You know the Mexican youth structure extremely well, having played there for most of your professional career. Are there players who can come into this group and at least keep Mexico at the level that we've seen, not just in this World Cup, but in the previous qualifying cycle?
Not enough at the moment. If you look at Liga MX domestic league and how they completely ignore the young domestic
devalue by bringing in foreign players.
Correct.
Yes.
There are no Mexican players coming up through the ranks. Because of that, you saw the second team, the B team, participate in Gold Cup, and it was a domestic league team. Players that aren't even starters don't participate a lot, and that was a complete and utter failure on their part. So you would have to say there aren't anybody stepping in, and they won't be anybody stepping in anytime soon, unless things change in Liga MX.
When you get to a World Cup and guys have good performances, people start talking about the jump to the next level. Chucky Lozano is an obvious one. Hector Herrera is another obvious one. Give us some other guys on this team who, with their performance, prove they're ready, either if they're in Europe to make a jump to a next level in Europe, or if they're playing in Mexico to make that jump overseas.
I think the obvious one, but he's already in Europe, is Carlos Salcedo. He was easily the best defender for me. I think he's ready for a bigger team. That said, this is also a player in the last 24 hours who has threatened to quit the national team, to retire from the national team. That's how much frustrations have set in with the players and the press. I think he's ready for bigger and better things.
What about Chucky Lozano? We've heard him linked to Barcelona. We've heard HH linked to a top-tier team in Real Madrid. Are those real for you? Do you think those are possibilities and good ones?
I've seen crazier things happen, but at this point it seems like a lot of rumor mill stuff from agents starting that to increase their transfer market value. That said, he is a lot bigger than PSV.
I'm sure you've all seen it on social media.
It's definitely coming home, unless England start to believe it's coming home, which then increases the pressure on them and they panic, and then it's not coming home. But maybe they'll think of that, and that will take the pressure off. Will mean it is then coming home. I don't know.
How many England fans really do think it's coming home?
Coming home. Come on, boys.
Is it coming home? Is it coming home?
It's coming home! It is coming! Harry Kane's going hat-trick!
England fans, is it coming home?
It's coming home!
So you don't think it's coming home for England?
No. We're coming home, but like to the airport.
Is it coming home?
Yes, most definitely.
It's coming home. It's coming home.
It's in the bag, mate. It's in the bag. It's coming out.
The World Cup's coming home. We've had 60 years of now is time.
Is it coming home?
Yeah, football's coming home.
We think we're going to win. It's going to make history for Colombia.
Today, I think it's going to be 1-1. England win on penalties.
Oh, there seems to be a lot more Colombia fans.
Vamos! Vamos, Colombia!
Is it coming home, guys?
Narrow England win, 2-1 win for us.
And is it coming home?
Probably not, but we'll get through this one first and then we'll have a chance in the semis, I reckon.
Go Colombia!
Come on, Colombia! Today's Halloween.
I feel privileged with Mr. Optimistic himself, Mark Ogden.
How optimistic? I think Southgate was right to rest players against Belgium. They've got Colombia, what have they ever achieved? I mean, Colombia got one Copa America. They never get beyond the quarterfinals of the World Cup. I mean, they're like the South American version of England. Do they handle pressure? I don't know. I mean, so tonight, if you just said before the start of the tournament, Colombia second round and then Sweden or Switzerland, Russia or Croatia standing between you and the final, it'd be, really? Yeah. it's a fantastic opportunity, and I just think that England should have some confidence.
So this is it. It's England versus Colombia, the last round of 16 game. England fans believe it's coming home. Colombia fans have been strong in voice throughout the whole day in Moscow. It's going to be one heck of a game. We're going to have all the reaction from England. Can't wait for this one.
I'm here at Flatiron Square in central London, where it's packed full of England fans. Will they get past Colombia tonight? We're about to find out. Very few chances here in the first half between England and Colombia. Let's see what happens in the second half.
Wow, I've just come out of the stadium. I don't even know where to start. It was up, down. England have won. And all I want to know now is do the fans really think, is it coming home?
It's definitely coming home, mate.
What was that like for you?
Horrible. Absolutely horrible.
We won on penalties though.
We did win on penalties. At the end of the day, it was an incredible moment. But like, I'd never put me that through ever again. Like, it's coming home! You know it's coming home. You know it's coming home.
England can win on penalties, then England can win the World Cup.